Hello everybody and welcome to another video of this channel, this deck channel, whose videos are only deck builds of decks that I really like. I'm just a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I'm just like a player who's passionate about the game. I started playing 4 years ago in 2016, and the decks that I like the most are Pendulum decks and ABC. These are the two decks that I really like. And I've always posted in this channel ABC decks that I felt were really good at the time or really innovative in some capacity. I like ABC players because they always find new ways and look forwards to changing the deck and to always making it be as competitive as it can, although the circumstances like the deck always indirectly gets hit by the ban list. Let's just be honest here. And today I would like to have a different video. Today I would like to talk about the history of ABC. Since its debut in 2016 in Kaiba's structure deck, in the very first builds with the gadgets, with Master Rule 3, and I would like to take it all the way to 2020, where, in my honest opinion, we have the strongest ABC deck that has ever existed. And I would like to go through the formats and how strong ABC was, how competitive it was, how counterplayed by the meta decks it was, because ABC has always suffered by some of the most relevant decks. And since I've played pretty much all the formats that ABC existed, and I've always been stubborn enough to have an ABC deck taken to a tournament and playing against the strongest opponents, the strongest decks, I guess I have my 2 cents on the topic. As a passionate ABC player, I would like to talk about that. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So first and foremost, why choosing like a deck that is clearly not metagame and or the tier 1 deck and playing it on competitive levels? First of all, I guess we all play card games for different reasons. One of the mutual reasons is the fun that we have when we hang around or hang out with friends. I guess we all have teammates, or if you don't have a competitive or like a team, a Yu-Gi-Oh team, which is kind of normal to have. But if you don't, that's fine. You just have your friends who play with you, who deck build with you, and of whom you play against. If you go to a locals, you always see familiar faces, and they kind of become your colleagues, and you kind of miss them when you don't see them. We are in a quarantine, difficult moment in our lives, so we kind of miss these moments, don't we? So I do miss it. I do miss the contact that we have with the ones that we like playing against, with our friends, and deck building. This is a crucial part. But another crucial part, and very important to me, of just playing a card game, are the decks that you play and how you build them. I guess ABC is one of the most creative decks in terms of deck building that have ever existed. It's so flexible. It's been built in many different ways. It's been built as a stun deck, and it simultaneously has been built like as a going second deck, as a combo deck, control deck. It's been built like in all shapes and forms, and not all of the decks have this flexibility, and ABC has throughout the years had different builds, and if you are stubborn enough and passionate enough, you can go through it all and try to just make it survive through the format and just play with the deck in the better version of it. So I would like to just start by talking about the very first ABC deck that has ever existed, which is the 2016 version of it, when it had first being released in the Kaiba structure deck, and the format that he had encountered and why it was the strongest deck, or one of the strongest decks. So ABC in 2016 was a tier 1 deck of the format, and at the same time it's one of the weakest ABC builds that have ever existed. Why is that? Well, I guess it's pretty simple. I've got a deck list here in front of us. This is actually the best quality of image that I found. I'm sorry for that. I even threw a little bit of a gag here. It is clearly a deck that has a lot of back row, or that is it's just looking for making ABC Buster Dragon or Dragon Buster first turn. without having links in the game, so it was harder. So this is one of the points, but like pre-link era, just making ABC Dragon Buster was really complicated. But at the same time, it was extremely rewarding if you managed to pull it off, because like the most meta relevant decks were ABC, Metal Foes, and Paleo Frogs, right? With the release of Invasion Vengeance, which was released in August, if I'm not mistaken, or even July. Yeah, I guess it was August of 2016. Heavy Metal Foes Mithrilium, or Metal Foes Mithrilium, was released as an ultra rare, which just took Metal Foes to the next level and made it be one of the strongest contenders and one of the best decks of the format. And totally awesome, one of the best puns in the game, was released. And it was an extremely strong and powerful boss monster, because it was easy to make first turn. Like, these easy to make negates in 2016 were actually pretty good. And it was like a floater. It's always been a floater. It's always been really good, backed up with traps. Yeah, it was a hard to miss card. It was really good. And with these three decks in mind, ABC could easily overcome many of the opponents, because ABC Dragon Buster could get rid of many of the threats that existed at the time. If you play and if you go first and you just make ABC Dragon Buster at a time, and they start making plays by normal summon Rescue Rabbit, you can just banish it. Little can they know to overcome that. Or if they put in some scales, Metal Foe scales, depending on how you banish your opponent's card, you might just screw them over. And you know, you would usually have like some back row, some traps to back ABC Dragon Buster up. So it was just a strong deck. It had a lot of resources, and when you tagged out, well, your 3 copies of Dragon Buster would most certainly just overwhelm your opponent. I try to make like a Cartesian plane here. It's really poorly done, I know, but I just wanted to measure how strong the deck was, in despite of how, like, what the level of the meta decks were at the time. And I wouldn't say that the meta decks were that much powerful in the 2016 format. And I wouldn't also say that the deck was that strong also. It was like a pretty much leveled up and even format, and it was fair in terms of what would come next in 2017, because 2017, like the very end of 2016 and the beginning and the total year of 2017 would completely change the game forever. With the beginning of Link Era and with all of the craziness that would occur, well, we can only hope to see Zodiacs and Spiral and True Draco, all of these like powerhouses that overcrypt, or power crypt. That's the word I was looking for. Power crypt the 3 decks here, but the 2016 deck was actually one of the most high rated in terms of tier ABC decks of all time. But let's go now to the early 2017 to the end of 2017 deck list. So this is a deck list that I used to play. It's like kind of a going second build. So I had like some hand traps. I had I had some Kaijus and Kaiju's Lumber. Yeah, interrupted Kaiju's Lumber, I guess. I had Raigeki, 3 copies of Evenly Matched. And this deck had one of the most powerful engines for the deck, which was the Ancient Fairy Dragon one. And it was really powerful. Alongside Brilliant Fusion, you had plenty of ways to access your Dragon Buster. You had plenty of ways to access Union Hanger. And at the same time, you could easily disrupt your opponent's board. So we ran like Black Rose Dragon if things went south and you needed to blow everything up. You had a couple copies of Direwolf, because there were not that many rank 4s that you could run better than it. There was the Utopia package, Baguska, Tornado Dragon, Akashic Magician, so you could bounce your Gamma Seal and put it again. I mean, it was good. A couple of Decode Talkers and another Clock Taker. So it was the very beginning of the era. And but like the decks that existed at the time were predominantly stronger than ABC. We had Trickstars. Well, Trickstars were not as good as they would be in the future. Like 2018 was the peak of Trickstars in my opinion, but we had like Paleo Frogs again, and we also had True Draco with one of the strongest boss monsters of all time. And also we had Spyro at the end of 2017. So all of these decks they just existed in the same year, and that's crazy to think about it. But despite all of this competitiveness and all of these very strong decks, this build was one of the best that has ever existed. Actually, I would say that this is the second best ABC list of all time because of the versatility that Ancient Fairy Dragon would bring to the deck, and because of like the going second version being really like just really good in general against the meta decks at the time. And Brilliant Fusion would also prove to be one of the best supporters of the deck. So like there were a lot of power cards, and there were 6 Union Hangers, 3 Terraformings, 3 Union Hangers, and so there was a lot of access to Dragon Buster. It was crazy. So I really love this build, but let us not forget, Masterpiece was a thing, and Zodiac was a thing. Okay, so Zodiac was a hell of a problem to ABC decks because it was extremely consistent. It had a lot of back row. It could interrupt you very easily, but at the same time, like you could try to sneak out a game or two from Zodiac. But after like by the end of 2017, when Zodiac got checked on the ban list, it started like ABC decks started to breathe a little more. Without I wouldn't go and even mention that the Link era, Link monsters helped ABC letters trigger. Yeah, the letter B would search, A would recur another monster from the graveyard, letter C would special summon, so that started to increase the power of the deck. And although we had like Sleeper, Broad Bull, and Dryden, Zodiacs in general, and True Draco in the game, this deck was really predominant. And I would say that, again, this is ridiculous that this like Cartesian plan, but I just felt like putting it out in the video. The deck was really strong. It was definitely stronger than the 2016 build, but the level of the meta decks, they were also quite stronger. So yeah, I would rate it in that way. But moving on to the early 2018, I separated between early 2018 and late 2018 because we had like some modifications some substantial modifications in the deck list. So this is a list that I had. It would still have it is still a going second list. So 6 hand traps. I've got like 3 evenly matched, but I've got some like powerful cards like Hornet drones for the Phoenix play or for the Cerberus play, without its normal summoning, making like a Link 2 play. It was really strong. So I had a Dark Hole. I had a lot of ways to interrupt the opponent, and evenly matched is a blowout card, and it had been a blowout card in that format as well. We used to play against Goki. So the very first version of Goki's after I guess it was Flames of Destruction, where the Nightmares were introduced, and that was just crazy. Goki would just link heal you, and little could you do about it but pray by opening with Evenly Matched or Drawing Lockbird. So Drawing Lockbird was a really nice hand trap for the format. And we used to play against BA Sekka, that crazy going second deck. It was good, but it didn't have Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is one of the strongest cards against ABC. Ever since it first existed, everybody would just play Call by the Grave, and if you happen to play ABC, you would get hit by it indirectly. They wouldn't use it because of ABC, but if you happen to play ABC, they would have it in the deck. So you had to be really careful by tagging Buster out. You would only do it if you absolutely needed to. But I really like this build. I miss Brilliant Fusion, one of the most powerful helpers of the deck, for sure. So like pendulums were also starting to be a thing. Not as strong as it would be in the future, but it was good. And Sky Striker, of course, because of Hornet drones, not because of it, but like you can tell, we can tell that Sky Striker already existed and it was already really good. But like Sky Striker was really weak against evenly matched. So if you happen to open and draw a Lockbird as well, so it was a good deck against Sky Striker in a way. But Sky Striker Tricksters were a problem because of the draw reincarnation combo. You would search a lot. You would search with Terraforming, with Hanger, with the ladders, and if you with Upstart Goblin, you would draw. And if they draw reincarnate you, it would definitely be. It was always a problem. But this card was one of the most powerful Sky Striker cards against, and because Sky Strikers were always played in this format, and it would be played up until 2020. Shark Cannon was really a problem because they would always banish our letters. They would always target one copy specifically of these letters until they banished the three of them, together with Call by the Grave. You had to be really careful by using and administrating well your resources. It was impossible to run less than 3 copies of each letter. Yeah. So yeah, that was the early 2018 format, and I would say that basically the deck was a little bit weaker than the last version because Ancient Fairy had been banned, so we would only be left with the Brilliant Fusion. But the meta decks were a little bit weaker as well, because although we had Goki, we didn't have True Draco, we didn't have Spyro, and we didn't have Zodiacs. So these 3 decks just didn't exist at the time. And then we have the late 2018 deck where, Brilliant Fusion had been limited, so we just removed it, but they released Dangers. So all the Dangers were at 3, and they released Summon Sorcerers. So Summon Sorcerers was one of the best supporters and one of the best Link monsters, not only for ABC, but like all time. Like one of my all-time favorite Link monsters. It was just too strong for the deck, because you would special summon a letter from the deck, and that by itself is just crazy. The Dangers would help you accelerate the deck. It would help you to, I would totally change one of these cards in my extra deck to a Saruya Skull Dread. I actually don't know why it's not in this list, but I just found this list on my dueling book and I just screenshotted it. But you see, I would totally change it because like the Dangers would just draw you a lot of cards, so you would always get to have your Union Hanger, and Terraforming was semi-limited at the time. And Saruya Skull Dread would draw you cards. Card destruction was already a thing, and you would make this Summon Sorcerers combo and Reproducos and all of that crazy stuff. It was good. It was really good. But Dark Warrior was a thing, and that deck with Rongo, all of the variations like the FTKs, it existed, so it was strong. We had Tricksters, we had Ultrageist, and we had Sky Strikers again, as well as the debuts of Thunder Dragons. And the most powerful boss monster against ABC was definitely Thunder Dragon Colossus, because it denied us from searching letters, and that by itself is just amazingly strong against it. So that's why we kind of needed the danger draws, so we could miraculously draw into a letter that we needed, a piece. We could perhaps equip another letter that we needed through Union Hanger, but like Colossus was really a threat and it was really a problem. But this build was actually strong, and I managed to win a lot of tournaments with this list because of Summon Sources and how strong the nightmares, the dangers were. And I would say the deck was like one of the strongest. I guess the third strongest build. The meta decks were actually pretty strong, but I guess the 2017 ones were stronger, so I would rate it in that way. That brings us to 2019. On 2019 we had, I just took this build, and I would like to shout out Carloncho Store, which is like a Facebook page and a store. This guy always like has amazing content for us Yu-Gi-Oh players, for like deck lists, YCS results. So shout out to him. So Kelvin Tan, like I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but he wouldn't know how to pronounce my name as well, so we're cool with that. He managed to get amazing results with the deck, and one of the most amazing results was definitely this YCS Chicago 2019 third place with his going second build. And I mean, the going second build, I always had, played going second builds. Actually, I always migrated from going first to going second, but it's always been there, as you saw in this video so far. But this list was extremely like going second, like for real. He only had the hangers, the letters, and that was about it. Like he had a lot of hand traps, actually 5 hand traps, 3 evenly matched, 3 Widow Anchor with 3 engage, like jamming waves, twin twisters, 3 mind control, and mind control at 3 is just crazy. So he would have a lot of things. He would try to like minimize and shrink the game state as much as he could, so he could just play Dragon Buster and try to win by that. And he was effective. He got 3rd place. So that is actually quite a strong build. But it shows how strong the 2019 format was. We had Sky Striker at its peak, Thunder Dragons again, because the Dark Warriors were banned. So, I mean, but the Thunder Dragons and Sky Strikers, they weren't banned in any capacity. They were full power at the time. I mean, yeah. Luna Light Turbo actually won. It was the debut of this deck. Rafael Nevins, I guess, he won this YCS by having Luna Light on the spotlight for the first time. And we had Arcus. Arcus was already playing, but without Dean Girso. Dean Girso would come later, but he was already pretty strong. Salamangreat was already debuted in 2019, and these are basically the decks. Subterror, Altergeist, actually, ABC has a hard time playing against Subterror, but with all of these twin twisters and, evenly matched, I guess Calvin just managed to play it nicely. Always the jamming waves. Again, Thunder Dragon Colossus was one of the biggest threats against this deck, but if you have like mind controls and infinity impermanences, we can understand why he got like 3rd place. But going first, like in 2019, was really complicated because they had so many outs to ABC. But if we win second and prepare ourselves, it would be better. It wasn't the strongest build in my opinion because like we had no Brilliant Fusion, no Ancient Fairy, and that by itself hurts a lot. But it was still strong. The meta decks were there. They were strong also. I would say that Sky Striker and Thunder Dragon were overpowered compared to the rest, but they were strong. And then we had late 2019 deck list. So Sky Strikers were dead, like the Engine was dead, Brilliant Fusion was dead, Ancient Fairy was dead, Summon Sorcerers was banned, so it was dead. Everything was just gone. Like ABC had nothing else, no power card, and the going second build was still there, but it was not as consistent because it didn't have Summon Sorcerer, so you couldn't always like make Dragon Buster out of nowhere. So it was just weakened. Like late 2019, ABC was just weak, and like I have this pendulum list. It is consistent. It has a lot of cards that search. It has a lot of +1 cards. By the way, Terraforming had been limited, so another hit for ABC. So 2019 ABC, late 2019 ABC was just crippled. For me, one of the weakest ABC builds, unfortunately, because we just didn't have a lot to go with. The Pendulum decks really helped us swarm monsters on the field and make an early Appaloosa and make like one Buster backed up with Appaloosa, maybe a rank 4, and all of these Pendulum decks would generate a lot of advantage. We could also make lots of different cards like Totem Bird with Guitar and Bumbuku, Nekomata. We could make a lot of things basically, but still, it was a glass cannon deck. If you were hit by the certain hand trap at a certain moment, you would go down. I guess you wouldn't be able to continue with your play. So yeah, I'd say that Sky Striker, Arcus, like full power Arcus, were predominant in late 2019 with the IP Masquerina. We're gonna talk more about that combo. Salamangreat was still there, and Zeraboros was the thing. Like Zeraboros would completely destroy the deck. So it was actually really sad to play with this late 2019 build. So I would say that it's the weakest ABC deck that we've ever had. In one of the like most, boring formats that we had in the recent years, it wasn't like we didn't have the strongest decks, but ABC just couldn't compete against these. Which leads us to this deck, the early 2020 ABC deck list, with the launch of Union Carrier, with the launch of I just realized I didn't put the extra deck, but I'll talk to you about the extra deck very quickly. With unauthorized reactivation and Union Driver. So these three cards are just everything. It's just everything that ABC needs. Like, Union Hanger became a one card, but not only ABC Buster, but also Buster Infinity. And that's crazy. ABC has never had such support. Like, ABC has never done by like a one card ABC Dragon Buster combo. Never. Imagine like one card being Union Hanger Buster plus Infinity combo. It's never happened before. Union Carrier gives the flexibility that this deck needs. Galaxy Soldier gives the like additional plays. Union Driver surpasses all of the difficulties and everything like that, everything negative first turn wise that ABC had, like opening with multiple copies, multiple letters. Although you would open with Hanger, it doesn't exist anymore. You can just Union Driver. It cannot get ogred because it banishes as cost. It cannot be asked because it doesn't search. It's just so much of a strong card. And unauthorized reactivation is like another trio of Union Hangers, and it can serve as a call by the grave. Like if you, if you Dragon Buster to banish in your turn and you get ogred, you can chain unauthorized reactivation if you have it, and or you can equip the letters that you have to protect the monsters, the machine monsters of your field. It's just too strong. And Transmodify really helps. And this build is just like the best ABC deck that has ever existed. I didn't put any of the meta decks that are competing right now. I confess to you that I'm not playing a lot of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh right now, but as soon as this quarantine ends, I will get back to it. This list is a little bit outdated because I've made some changes. I'm gonna post this video first, and then I'm gonna like post my real deck list for this build. But actually, the 2020 ABC deck, because it can consistently make ABC turn 1 with Infinity, it can run hand traps, it is flexible, it's good going second, it's good going first. It's the best ABC deck that has ever existed. So I would rate it like this. The meta decks are strong. We have Ed Emancipator full power, we've got like Eldlish full power, we've got like a lot of strong stuff. But just like in terms of ABC decks, this is basically the strongest we've ever had. So yeah, I'm looking forward to showing you guys my ABC deck list of this 2020 format, post-ban list. ABC Dragon Buster is at 1, but we have Recursion, we have a lot of things for the deck. I will talk about all of it in the next video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like the story. I hope you like this presentation, and I hope you guys get your ABCs and build it as competitively as you can. And I hope you stay safe in this quarantine, and I hope you stay blessed. So thank you so much for watching the video. Feel free to like it if you're until the end of it. I'm actually really flattered and honored by having you until the end of the video. So see you later, guys. Goodbye.